Today we are going to learn about the Egyptians, one of the earliest civilizations. The Egyptians settled in the Nile River Valley in the northeast part of Africa. The Nile River was very important to this early civilization. Where the Nile reaches the Mediterranean Sea, it branches off in many smaller rivers looking like a fan. This delta, or area of fertile land, was where most of the Egyptians lived. The Egyptians were protected from invasion by other civilizations by the sea, desert, and cataracts, which are large waterfalls. Every year in July, the Nile would overflow and flood the entire delta area. It would stay like this for about 4 months, and then the flooding would go down, leaving fertile soil for growing crops. Over time, the Egyptians found ways to control the floods. They built dams and ditches to drain the extra water. They used basins, which are bowl-shaped holes dug out of the ground to store extra water that they may need. They invented a machine known as the shadoof that was used to lift water from the river and pour it into the basins. It was a long rod that was held in the air with a large bucket on one end and weights on the other. When the dry season came, the Egyptians dug canals from the basin to their fields to help water the crops. Early Egypt consisted of 2 kingdoms, which are states with kings as their rulers. In 3100 BC, the king of Upper Egypt led an army to Lower Egypt and conquered it, uniting the 2 kingdoms. They were a very strong nation and believed that it was because they had a strong ruler. Although the early Egyptian rulers were called kings, the later Egyptian rulers were called pharaohs. The pharaoh was not only the ruler, but also considered a priest and a god. To show their love for their pharaoh, the Egyptian people built large tombs for them called pyramids. After a pharaoh died, his body was placed in his pyramid along with all of his personal belongings. This included items such as clothing, furniture, and jewelry. It was thought that the pharaoh would be happy after death if he was among his favorite things. The pyramid also served as a way to protect the pharaoh's body from robbers, wild animals, and floods. This should give you some background information for our unit on Egypt. What do you already know about Egypt and the Egyptians?